Hello and welcome to Jesus for Asia Now. I'm Natalie Wood and I have my husband John here with me on the show today. Hello, love.
Hi, darling. How are you?
I'm doing great. And I'm looking forward to this show.
Yes, it's going to be a wonderful study of God's Word.
And that's different from what we normally do. Normally we do project reports and we share pictures and video from overseas.
Yes.
But this is foundational to what we're doing.
Exactly. If we're doing stuff that's not in the Bible, we should stop doing it.
Right.
Or if we're not doing stuff that's in the Bible, we should start doing that.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, and so we're going to look into the Bible, look into Jesus' sayings, His own teachings, which to me, I have the greatest faith of all the writers of the Bible. I have the greatest faith in Jesus' words alone.
That's right.
I find they're very well-rounded, little kernels of life in them. And so we're going to look into Luke chapter 15 and chapter 16, but I don't think we're going to get through both chapters in one show.
No, I don't think so. There's too much.
Yeah, so we're going to do two parts with this study.
Okay, so where do we start?
We're going to start right at the beginning of Luke chapter 15.
Okay.
But we're going to do an overview, okay? It's not going to be
Okay.
really in-depth in the beginning of the chapters because people are very familiar with these verses, and what we really want to drill into is towards the end of Luke 15.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, let's get started.
So a quick overview of the beginning. Jesus is talking, and he's talking to scribes and Pharisees,
Okay.
The scribes and Pharisees were watching him, and they were seeing him eat with sinners, okay? And they got upset with him.
Okay.
And so I believe that all of chapter 15 and 16 is one sermon or one set of sayings. It's one teaching regarding the issue of church people.
Okay, so church people have an issue.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So we're going to dig into that.
Yes, exactly. So the issue is that, why are you eating with sinners and publicans? And so Jesus is trying to show it's actually a worldview, a paradigm that they have subscribed to that is not in harmony with heaven's view, not in harmony with heaven's value system. Okay? So Jesus starts out with parables. There's actually 3 parables in Luke 15, 2 parables in Luke 16. The first parable is the lost sheep.
Okay.
And Jesus says basically, what man has 100 sheep and one is lost out on the fields, just leaves the 99 in the fold, they're safe, okay, goes and looks out after that one sheep.
So focusing on the lost then.
Exactly. Caring about the lost. Now that sheep may be dirty, that sheep may be all scratched up and not looking like a really good sheep, but it still has value. Why? Because it's the shepherd's sheep.
Right.
Not because it's the best sheep in the flock, not because it's a beautiful sheep, because it's the shepherd's sheep.
Right.
Okay? So the shepherd has value, places value on that sheep. So he goes out and looking for that. So that's the first parable that Jesus talks about. We all know this one.
Right.
And then the next parable, of course, is the woman that has 10 coins and she lost one. Okay? Now, I believe that these coins, each one is very, very valuable. It's not just like a quarter.
It's not a penny.
Right.
Or,
How many quarters?
If you lost a penny under the couch or whatever, would you really look for it? Probably wouldn't even know it was gone. But she obviously knew that it was gone, and it was very important to her.
Yeah, and so she just cleaned house. She swept the house, she moved all the furniture, she did whatever she could. She went all out looking for that one lost coin.
Well, I think it's interesting that he says, he's giving the first parable about the lost sheep, and then he gives the second parable about the lost coin. And at the end, they both, want to throw a party. They want to be excited about what is found.
Right.
So it's important to recognize that they put a lot of value in what was lost.
Yes.
And when they found it, they were really happy.
Rejoiced.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
gathered all the friends together and rejoiced.
Right.
Rejoice with me, for I have found what was lost.
Right. So that's God showing us a little bit of God's heart when something that's lost is found. Now we'll move on to the third parable, which is the parable of the prodigal son, as we call it.
Correct.
The son that said to his father, "Give me my half of the inheritance, and I'm out of here."
Right. Exactly.
So,
and so you notice that the son, he asked for the inheritance before his father has passed away.
I know, that's a bit rude, I think.
Extremely rude, insulting.
And like disowning your parents. I mean, it's like saying, I'm not going to wait for you to die. I just want what the value or the wealth of this world that you have.
Right. It's almost like, I like the world better than you. I like your money better than you. I wish you were dead.
Yeah.
So it's very insulting. So what does the father do? Does he have the right to refuse his son?
Mm-hmm.
So
He's
why,
the father, after all.
yeah, it's his money. So why does he not refuse his son?
I think because of the love he has for his son.
Wow.
And because he knows the rebellion that lies in our hearts.
Mm. So do you think that the father's generous or stingy?
He seems generous to me.
Generous to a fault.
Yeah.
I mean, amazingly generous, amazingly kind, amazingly generous man.
Mm.
That gives this.
And very patient
Yeah.
with the son. He didn't yell at him or berate him. He just gave him what he wanted and let him go.
Yeah. And so the son left, he goes out and he goes in the world and he spends all of his money, spends it all, runs out, and then the land goes into a famine and he ends up almost like a slave or working for a pig farmer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for a Jew, that's pretty low. You can't get much lower than that.
Yeah, that's, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then coveting
And then-
the food that the pigs are eating.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then he remembers how the servants at his father's home are treated.
right. And he realizes that, my goodness, the father's servants are better, are treated better. They live better than what I'm living right now.
Maybe that's a little picture in a nutshell of the difference between the result of sin as we see it. You know, when we're going out to sin, we see it as some great thing, you know, or whatever. We go after the world because we think it's awesome.
Right.
And then we find the bitterest dregs at the bottom.
Yes, and that's my experience.
So-
I've experienced that myself, thinking, and I grew up in the church, and I was thinking all my life, everybody, you know, somebody out there is having a lot more fun than I am. Until I got out of, you know, moved away, grew up, got through college, moved away, and started, you know, sampling this out, researching, you know, are they really having more fun than I am? And I found out it's rough out there. It's sad. It's a lot of hardship. And so the pleasures are there for a little bit, but then the pleasures fade away and you're left with the husks. And it's rough.
Yeah.
And so,
So he starts to think about going home.
yeah. So then he rehearses this thing, comes up with a saying that he's going to say, Father, I'm not worthy to be your son, da, 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 da. And then he comes home and he repeats this thing to his father. But his father is sitting on the front porch, just looking down the road. As soon as he sees his son, he goes running over there and he kisses him, hugs him. And the son rehearses this saying that he was going to tell his father how he's not worthy to be his son anymore. Just let me be a servant. The father doesn't hear it. The first thing he does is he calls the servant and say, bring the best garment. Put it on my son. Bring the ring. Now the ring is very, very symbolic because it's not just a decoration. It's an authority. It's like a signature. You know, they use the rings to seal the letters, to seal the documents with wax and stuff like that. So it's like reinstating him as an authoritative member of the family with authority.
Right. Which he had given that away.
Yeah. And so immediately he gives it back. He reinstates him and places him in the position of the family. And then, like all the other two parables, the father calls a party. Kill the fatted calf. You know, it's not the kind of party I would be interested in, being a vegetarian. You
Right.
know, kill the fatted Big Frank.
Yeah. Potato.
Potato, yeah, there you go. But, you know, he starts to have a party and starts to gather his friends and rejoice that what was lost is now found. The son that was dead is now alive. Okay, and now we want to move into what we're really wanting to learn and what the meat of this and chapter 16 is all about.
Okay.
Okay, and this is the elder son.
Yeah, here he comes.
Yeah, the elder
He
son.
hears the party.
He hears the party and he asks, what's going on? And the servant says, oh, your brother has returned.
Came back.
And your father has killed the fatted calf and they're making merry. And the son got angry. Got angry. And we're going to read into chapter 15 and figure out why he's angry. Okay, we're going to start out with verse 25 is when the son comes in. And then verse 28 is when we found out that he was angry and would not go in. But the father comes out, verse 28. Therefore came his father out and entreated him. What a kind guy. What a kind father. You know, he didn't berate him. He entreated him. You know, like, son,
Please come in.
why don't you come in? Come in.
Let's celebrate. Your brother came home.
Yeah, and the elder son said, and he answering said to his father, Lo, these many years do I serve thee. Okay? First clue. Neither transgressed I at any time thy commandment. Okay? So what was his focus on right off the bat?
Check the checklist.
Exactly. Obey the Father.
And you'll get the reward.
And serve the Father. All right? And then he says, but thou never gavest me a kid, okay, even a little baby goat, you know, or baby lamb or anything, that I might make merry with my friends. Okay, God, Father, you never gave me anything. I've done all this stuff for you. I've served you. I've never disobeyed you. You never did anything for me and my friends. But as soon, verse 30, as soon as this thy son was come, which hath devoured thy living with harlots, thou hast killed for him the fatted calf. So where was the son's focus?
So his focus is on the reward or what he's working for.
Exactly. So it seems as though the attitude of the elder brother is to serve his father and to never transgress his laws, so that someday he'll get this payoff. And he's angry at his younger brother because he took part of half of his money, you know. The guy. So here is the elder son living in the household of the father. This father who is generous to a fault, and he doesn't know it. And he's living in his mind as a servant, and
Just
he's
slaving
suffering
away,
as a servant,
trying to
hoping
get
for someday he's going to get that payoff. What does the father say to him? This is amazing, and this just blows me away when you make the application. Verse 31, he says, and he said unto him, so the father says back to the elder son, Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. Not just your half of the inheritance, or not just your part of the inheritance, all that I have. Now, is this a wealthy father?
It seems like it.
Yeah.
I mean,
He can give away half of his wealth to his son as an inheritance. I'm guessing that it's half, and act like nothing's, it's not that big a deal. He must have an unlimited source of wealth somewhere.
or at least really large.
Yeah, very, very large amount of wealth. And so he can, and then he tells his elder son, it's okay. You could have had, basically the elder son says, Dad, you never threw me a party. And the father says, you never asked. You never asked. Here was this son who was living with his father, very generous, very wealthy, very loving, very kind father, and had no idea, no clue. He was hoping, he was doing what he thought the father wanted him to do. See? But completely missed the spirit and the heart of the father. So he was living in misery, and he could have been living in joy. And see, this speaks to me so deeply because I identify with the elder brother. I don't see myself as a prodigal son. At one time I was the prodigal son, but I've come back 20 years ago. And I've stayed with the Father for 20 years. I'm in the church. I go to church. I want to go to church. I want to pray. I want to read my Bible. I want to serve Him. So I'm the elder son.
So the question is, what are you serving Him for?
Yeah. Could I be missing something that's in the Father's heart? And I'm suffering, and I'm living a life of struggles and pain when I could be having a party every day. What am I missing? And this is the key. This is the key for me, because this is what the Father says. All that I have is thine. So if this represents the Father in heaven, and God is saying that to us, all that I have is thine,
then all the blessings that we need, everything we need is already there.
Yeah. And I have,
because of our connection to Him.
And what if I just haven't asked? What if I'm living with all these resources and all these blessings and all these whatever heaven has for us, and I'm not enjoying it because I just haven't asked?
Because I have a wrong attitude. I'm looking at it as, I have to do this.
Yeah.
I have to do that.
Right.
In order to get someday.
Exactly. Exactly. Someday, if I'm just really good and I do all the things that I'm supposed to do and pay my tithe and go to church, then maybe I'll get to go to heaven. And there I will enjoy it. But heaven, I believe, begins now by entering into
Association with the Father.
Exactly.
Yeah, and one thing about the elder brother, his answer to his father, he says, "This thy son, who squandered your living." I mean, he threw away your money. He's very pointed that this is not any association with him. It's his father's son. It's his father's money that's been, lost. I mean, what kind of attitude is that about our fellow man?
Yeah. And see, that's the issue, because when you go into this mindset, this servant mindset of trying to be good enough to receive a reward, then you start to go into competition. Anybody else that comes in and receives a reward from the Father, it's like, why are they doing that? See? And so the value, the elder son valued the money, valued the payoff, valued the reward, whereas the Father valued the person, the son. Exactly. And so what if that elder brother had switched around, and instead of focusing on the money, focusing on, well, I'm the good guy, I didn't take my dad's money and go off and spend it on riotous living. I'm doing the good thing. What if he had turned around and said, you know what, I'm going to go spend time with my father, figure out what he's really like. Here I'm living with this guy, I might as well get to know him, right? And go hang out on the front porch with the father. Dad, why are you sitting on this front porch? Why are you here? Well, I'm waiting for your brother to come. Really? Why? So I love him. I miss him. I really am hoping that he'll come to his senses and come home. Really, Dad? Yeah. But he took all your money. He wanted you dead. That's okay. That's okay. I love him. He's my son. Really, Dad? Yeah. So, Dad, if he did come home, what would you do? Oh, man. I would party. I would get all my friends together and we would have the biggest party you've ever seen. Really? You would do that, Dad? For this guy? Yeah. Dad, what would you do for me? You, son? I love you. What would you like? What would you like me to do for you? Well, Dad, I'd like a party with my friends. Done. You've got the ring. And this ring, I believe that the ring was like a credit card. You could go into a store, open up a line of credit. I need 6 goats. I'm having a party. Oh, really? So where's the money? Well, I got this. Oh, you're his son. Here, just, impress that on this paper. No problem. Whatever you need. I know your dad's good for it. So he could go out and have this party. He could probably party every single night with all of his friends without any trouble. And his dad would gladly, because of his great love. But the son never experienced that. And he lived a miserable life. And what's interesting is that Jesus doesn't talk about the response of that son. He doesn't say, after the father said this to the son, if you look at the end, verse 32, it's the father talking. It was fitting that we should make merry and be glad, for this thy brother was dead and is alive again, was lost and is found. So the father was focused on the son, and the elder son was focused on the money, the reward. But the father, but then we go into chapter 16, with a different parable, the dishonest steward or the unjust steward. Okay, so it's like, what happened to the brother, the elder brother? Did he oh, you're right, Dad, we should make merry. I'm sorry. No, it's like left hanging.
We're not told how it finishes.
Right.
Maybe we're meant to apply it to ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, well, absolutely. Yeah. But I think Jesus in chapter 16 deals with that attitude of the elder brother. Because this, I believe, is a lot of times our attitude as churchgoers. When I go to church, I sacrifice every Sabbath morning. I get up instead of sleeping in. I go to church and I make sure I pay my tithe and I do all these kinds of things. And our focus is on our behavior, and our focus is on our obedience. But where's our heart? Have we entered into the heart of the Father? Where's the focus of the Father?
It's on the people. It's on the lost. It's
Yeah.
on looking for the lost, like in the shepherd parable.
And where are the lost?
They're all around us.
They're all around us, but they're all around the world.
Yeah, that's right.
What about the unreached people groups?
Yeah, they're very lost.
They're very lost. They don't even know they're lost. They're out there. You know, they're so far out there. And you think Jesus doesn't care about them? I think Jesus really cares about them.
Yeah.
And his heart of hearts is to see them return. And he's sitting on his front porch, you know, waiting and looking for them to come back. Now, what if you picture this? The elder brother finds out how much the father loves him. And the elder brother finds out how much the father loves the brother. And he enters into that heart. Okay? He said, Dad, you love my brother that much? You love me that much? Would it be okay with you if I went out and looked for my younger brother? What would the father say?
Of course.
Thank you. Thank you. Please. You know, God grace. Here, take whatever you need. Here's provisions for the trip. Go. You know. And so the elder brother goes out there and he looks around and he finds the younger brother in a pig trough. Hey, your dad is missing you. He loves you. Really?
Yeah.
You know.
Come on home.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be reflective of the heart of the Father in the elder son more than the elder son just staying home and obeying and doing all the right things? Yeah.
And you know what just hit me?
What?
What about the sons that don't know that they have a father?
Yeah.
I mean, that son that left, he grew up with that father. He also should have known his father's heart.
Yeah.
But for some reason, he didn't.
Right.
And the call of the world was strong, and he went.
Right.
But what about those that never had a chance to meet that father yet?
Right. Never knew that they had a father that cared and was waiting for them to come home. Yeah.
God talks about that. He talks about the fatherless a lot.
How can that son that doesn't even know he has a father wake up, come to his senses, and come home?
Without an elder brother that goes looking.
Exactly. And so this, I believe, is a huge missionary, what's the word? A call.
It's an illustration of God's heart for our fellow men and the heart that he longs for us to have also.
Right. And I think a lot of times we are striving to become better Christians. We're striving to become more Christ-like, when in actuality, what we're trying to do is do it through being good, you know, earning something that God's already given us. You know, he's already given us salvation full and free. And now he's saying, go.
So the all that I have is thine. It's not just talking about money. I mean, in the parable, it's kind of talking about money from a money perspective. But in reality, God's saying, I gave you the blood of my son. I gave you salvation. I gave you the opportunity to live with me forever. You know?
Yeah, well,
and
actually,
I care about my other children.
Yeah. And we'll learn in chapter 16 that money is not the big issue with Christ. Money is not an issue with God. You know, the money is the easy part. It's the blessings that are much better than money. It's the blessings of right standing with God, of communion with our Maker, and with the joy
His presence.
His presence. In thy presence is fullness of joy. You know, at thy right hand are pleasures forevermore. It's that wealth of heaven's power to overcome, power to resist evil, all these things that are amazing blessings, the riches of heaven. You know, the angels in heaven that can come down and fight with us, fight for us. All this stuff is freely given if we but ask.
And maybe the power to also, you know, do the commandments like the elder son was saying. I've always kept all your commandments. Maybe that's there too. Oh,
absolutely. Yeah, because, you know, if the Father's giving the commands, you think the Father's not obeying the commands himself? And in Christ, you know, Christ obeys through us. But remember that there's two laws. All the laws of the prophets and the law boil down to two laws. Love God with all your heart and love your fellow man as yourself. Okay? So it's all love. So if we focus on the commandments and miss the love, are we really going to be Christ-like?
No,
No.
we're focused on the commandments.
Right, because Christ is love.
Love.
God the Father is love. So if we focus on the love, it all comes together, because then now it's obedience by love, not obedience by hope of reward.
Right, right. Because when we love God, we really do want to do what He wants us to.
Absolutely.
So obedience becomes something that we're seeking, not something that we're seeking to check off our list.
Yeah. But I think a lot of times we as people are not, we as Christians, we as followers, are not entering into the heart of the Father as we could. Not stopping to say, God, what do you really care about? How can that translate out into my life today? The decisions I make in my life today. Can I begin fulfilling the dreams and hopes and wishes of my Father today? Realizing that He's already paid for everything. It's already open. It's already empowered. You know, all that I have is thine. That's just amazing. I mean, when you start to think about that, is that really what God means? All that I have is thine. All that God has is ours. Is it spoken, and it's spoken, Jesus says it in other places too, where He says, it is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. It's like, serious? Yeah, it's His good pleasure. He wants to, He would enjoy giving you the kingdom. Okay? Therefore, sell all that you have and come and follow me. Give it to the poor. It's like, wow. Okay, this is a pretty good exchange. And so I find in this passage just incredible courage to go forward and seek God's sons and daughters wherever they are around the world. And that's why I'm so encouraged, and I believe that the work that we do, that anybody does in seeking the lost, is partly, is a big degree coming out of understanding the Father's heart for the lost, for His lost kids.
Right. I just want to invite our viewers to enter into the Father's heart, to seek Him and to understand what He is saying to us in these parables, because the lost are so important to Him. And we don't want to be in His household and lost. If the Lord has impressed you to give, to help, to seek His other children, you may give your tax-deductible love gift to Jesus for Asia, P.O. Box 1221, Collegedale, Tennessee 37315. Call us at 423-413-7321 or visit our website at jesusforasia.org. May God richly bless you until we see you again on Jesus for Asia Now.